Well, hello again, YouTube. I'm still Chuck, and I'm still here in the man cave, and it's still Wednesday, June 7th. And so I got another story for you. 3 days ago, I kind of on a whim, I told a story about a couple of encounters I had in 2021 up in southwest Colorado, and it seemed like that generated quite a bit of interest from you. Also, thought I might come back and talk about another one if I can keep myself focused. As I told you in the other video, I've kind of been a little bit of a brain fog the last couple of days, and I'm not quite sure why, but let me see if I can hold this together enough to tell you this story. Now, there was, later on that same year, I think I told you that, we took 3 trips in 2021. We took the one in May up to southwest Colorado that was in my last Bigfoot video. Then up in August into September, we went big, long 4-week one clear up into Idaho and Montana and Wyoming and came back down that way. And then later on in November, we went over to southwest New Mexico. Well, southwest New Mexico, the Deming area and specifically is wine country. And there's a winery over there that my wife, she kind of likes the stuff that they make. And so every 2 or 3 years, we'll make a little trip over there and we'll buy a couple $100 worth of wine. We'll pack it in the trailer and bring it back. We call it making a wine run. But also over there, down in very rural southwest New Mexico, about actually a quarter of a mile from the Arizona state line, there's a little RV park down there. And over Thanksgiving, they put on a big feed for everybody that happens to be there. And they're very, very nice people. And we've gone to that 2 or 3 times, and so and we hadn't been to it, of course, since COVID. And so we thought we'd go down there for the Thanksgiving and have Thanksgiving with them. And so basically, we went. This winery where we went is a few miles outside of Deming. And if you go in there and buy some stuff, they're what they call part of the Harvest Host program, which means as an RVer, you can park overnight in their parking lot for free, just boondock in their parking lot, and they have a pretty sizable parking lot to allow you to do that. And so we went, and we drove over there, and we got the wine we needed, and we set up overnight in their parking lot. And there was a couple other rigs there, not just us. But I was sitting in the trailer and in the evening there, and this is it's a wide open valley. It's agricultural. There's no mountains real close. And all of a sudden, I get the "Hi, we're here" tingle. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. So I got up and I went outside, and I started responding back. And I ended up having a conversation with a male adult, and his name was Nazer. And I was really surprised to find them there, and he was really surprised that somebody knew he was there. And I asked him, I said, do you guys live here in the valley? And he said he did. And I said, well, does anybody else that lives here, do they know that your family is here? And he come back, he said, 2 women. So out of all the people that live in that valley around Deming, there's only 2 people that live there that knew that Sasquatch family group is living there. And so once again, I had about a 10 or 15 minute back and forth with him, and he was very open and very friendly, and I never saw anything. I mean, that's the way it goes. But I thought that was pretty remarkable. Well, the next day, we move on down to this little RV park, and I'll tell you the name of it. It's called Rusty's RV Ranch, and Rusty's is a real sweet gal, and she's actually from Scottsdale, Arizona, and she and her husband had moved over there a few years ago and bought a little 40-space RV park out in the middle of nowhere, north of a little town called Rodeo, New Mexico, right along US 80. Going down toward Douglas, Arizona. And their big claim to fame there is, with their RV park, is that it's a dark sky area. There's no cities around there, and there's no lights. And so they only have very, very minimal night lighting at night. And the sky is real big. It's horizon to horizon. It's really pretty. Their other thing, of course, is the Chiricahua Mountains, which are right across the line on the Arizona side. They're real big with birders, and they're not too far out of Portal, Arizona. And Portal, Arizona is known worldwide as a place where the birders go. So between the birders and the stargazers, they kind of keep Rusty's place busy most of the time. And so, anyway, I was over there at set up at Rusty's, and we set up there for I think it was 4 nights, I believe. And the first night I was there, once again, just about dusk, I get the little "Hi, we're here" tingle. I responded back, and I got this wild sense of excitement and holy cow, what do we do, and all this kind of stuff. And I've talked about that before. And then I got one that was apparently brave enough to talk to me. And I should have looked up his name before. I'm thinking his name was Drayton, but I'm not 100% sure that. I should have looked it up before I started making the video. But I'll correct it in the comments if I'm wrong. I'll pin a comment to at the bottom of the video. But I think his name was whatever it was I just said. Anyway, so I asked him how old he was. He told me he was 15. And so he didn't talk to me for very long, and he was gone. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And so the next evening, once again, they're back. And this time it seems like there's more of them. The sense to me was that there was more of them. Well, pretty soon I got one that reached out, and he was a young adult male. And he told me his name was Marcus. And not Marcus, but like Mare, M-A-R-E, Marcus. And apparently the younger one, he'd gone back and told Marcus what he'd found. And Marcus came down and checked me out. And so anyway, Marcus, he hung around, talked to me for a little while. And that first night, and I asked them if they lived in the valley or if they lived over in the mountains over on the Arizona side. And they indicated they live over there in the mountains, and they come down every evening and kind of wander around, and they like to look and see what the people are doing, and typical what they do. They'll be right there, and people don't know they're there. And he was quite amazed that I knew he was there. And so anyway, that's kind of how the first night went. Well, this was a couple days before Thanksgiving, and there was another guy that was staying there at the RV park, a younger guy, and you could tell by his truck that he was working some kind of, looked like a construction type job, and by the tools in his truck and stuff, it kind of looked forestry to me. And so he was out walking his dog one evening when I was out walking my dog, and I got talking to him, and well, it turned out that he was actually running a trail crew. They were hired out to the Forest Service, and they were up in the Chiricahua Mountains on the Arizona side doing trail maintenance. And he had a fifth wheel, and he was staying there at the RV park, but it was his crew that was up there, and they'd agreed to, they were camped up there. They didn't hike in and out every day. They just stayed up there. And, well, it turned out he'd done some work over here, and we'd actually crossed paths earlier, a few years ago, and once all of a sudden the light came on both of our heads, we realized we knew each other, and that was kind of amazing. And so we had a fun time talking a little bit about figuring out how we knew each other, and we finally figured it out. He'd worked at one point. He'd worked for one of the local fire departments for a little while, and I'd run the brush dump off pits as part of a wildfire risk reduction program. So I was the manager of the pit, and he brought some stuff in there, and that's how he knew me. And so anyway, that was kind of interesting. Well, he's telling me about their project up there, and he said one of the main trails that goes up through there, the top of the Chiricahuas, went through a large burn area from a fire that was called the Horseshoe 2 fire some years earlier. And they went through they had a particular area up there where he said there was a lot of dead trees, and he said they'd all been snapped off and broken off and laying crisscross across this trail. And that it was quite a challenge to try to get through all this, because it was the term for that is called a jackpot, where and a lot of times it might even be due to a little tornado or something go through there and just knock trees down in every single direction. But the interesting thing about this one, he said they went in there and they spent a whole day cutting, trying to clear this area trail, and pretty calm winds, no weather to speak of. And the next day when they went back to resume, there was a whole bunch of trees that were knocked down in there that hadn't been there the day before. And of course that made my radar go up. And so I'm thinking about that. And so I'm really curious about it. So later on that evening, guess what? Marcus is back. And I asked Marcus. And Marcus, he was very open. He said, that's a special place to us up there. And we don't like that trail. And if they clear it, we'll just block it again. If they take all the trees out, we'll bring trees from somewhere else. And he was very matter of fact about that. And he said, that's what they do. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. Now, they use the term special quite a bit. I've never heard them use the term sacred. I don't know what up there would have been what they would consider a special site, whether it's a gathering point or maybe it's a place where a family group lives or something right close to where the trail is. So the next day, I had a chance to talk to this trail guy again. And so I asked him, I said, you still having issues in that spot? And he said, yeah, it's the strangest damn thing. And so I asked him, I said, is that trail heavily used by the illegals, either illegal aliens or packing drugs? And he said, oh yeah, constantly. He said sees very heavy use. They have numbers of the drug runners carrying packs of drugs across that trail. And this might be something to it. So I just flat out told him what I'd found out. Well, he knew me enough to know, he knew me enough that I think he pretty much figured I wasn't a kook, but he's not on board with this whole thing. And so he was polite about it. And he said it was kind of interesting to hear that, but I don't think he was on board with it. And so I don't know if he ended up going telling his crew about it or not. I don't know how much more time they put into that. We left a day or so later. And he told me next time he gets any kind of a project back over in our area, he'll come look me up. He knows how. I left him a card. But that was interesting. We had I got 3 names at 2 different locations. And the one was really amazing, out in the middle of the big, broad agricultural valley around Deming. And actually had one there that told me what his name was. And then talking with Marcus, and I'm trying to remember how old Marcus was. And once again, I should have looked that up. I'll pin it to the comments if I've got an age for him. I believe he was in his 20s. And but he was pretty open. He talked to me more than most of them do. And but there according to him, there's quite a large population of them that live in the Chiricahuas, and that's right on the very, very southwest corner of Arizona, right on the New Mexico line, and extends down almost to the Mexican border. So once more, that's another little Bigfoot story for you. I'll get that one loaded up. And this is the first take on this. I'm amazed that I was able to hold it together with the way I've been feeling the last day or so. But you can tell I'm enthusiastic about it once I get myself fired up about stuff. So I'll tell you as I always do, take care of each other, love each other, take care of yourself. If you watched my earlier video, I'm doing a little bit better, but I still got a long ways to go to get back to where I was before I had this surgery. And it's a great life, beautiful day. And we'll talk to you again real soon on another one. So right now I'm just going to tell you, peace out.